Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. The tension in Genoa city had reached a fever pitch, and every corner of the Newman mansion seemed to tremble with unspoken threats, whispered betrayals, and the heavy weight of secrets that could topple empires. Claire Newman, whose charm and cunning had long masked a shrewd, calculating mind, was now poised to make a move that could shake the city to its very foundations. In the dimly lit back room of society, her fingers trembled slightly as she clutched a small, seemingly innocuous envelope, the contents of which could end Victor Newman's reign forever. Matt Clark, standing before her with his usual mix of smoldering intensity and barely concealed ambition, leaned in closer, his eyes reflecting a dangerous mix of curiosity and greed. The air between them crackled like electricity, thick with tension, because everyone in Genoa city knew the stakes of this moment. Claire's voice was steady, almost icy, as she whispered, "Take this, and make sure Victor never sees tomorrow." Matt's eyes widened slightly, the weight of her words sinking in. This wasn't a casual favor, a petty act of vengeance, or a simple piece of gossip. It was a weapon, a key to dismantling the empire Victor had built through decades of manipulation, power plays, and unrelenting ruthlessness. Every Newman loyalist, every Abbott supporter, and every schemer in the city could feel the tremors of what was about to unfold. Claire slid the envelope across the polished marble counter, her fingers brushing Matt's just long enough to spark a silent, deadly pact. He caught it almost instinctively, and as the leather-bound edges of the envelope pressed into his palm, the gravity of the moment crashed down on him. Inside was a dossier, meticulously compiled, detailing Victor Newman's most secret dealings, offshore accounts, incriminating evidence of bribery, corporate sabotage, and even whispers of crimes that, if exposed, could send Victor straight to prison. It was the culmination of years of scheming, spying, and maneuvering, a weapon more potent than any gun, any bomb, any physical attack. This was Claire's final move, a masterstroke in a game that had been played for decades, and now, in Matt's hands, it could finally ignite a war no one in Genoa city would survive unscathed. Matt's heartbeat quickened. He had been on the receiving end of countless secrets and blackmail plots in his career, but this was monumental. The power now coursing through him was intoxicating, a heady mix of danger and possibility. He looked up at Claire, whose eyes betrayed nothing yet hinted at the storm she had orchestrated. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice low, barely audible over the hum of the city beyond the glass doors. Claire's lips curved into a faint, enigmatic smile. "I'm more than sure," she said, her tone implying far more than words could convey. "Victor has underestimated every single person around him, including me. But he'll never see this coming." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle, knowing that each syllable was a spark that could ignite chaos. "Matt, you've been loyal to the wrong people for too long. Now, this is your chance to choose a side. Make it count." The room seemed to shrink around them, the noise of society fading into a distant, inconsequential murmur. It was just the two of them, and the envelope, the final piece in a deadly puzzle that had been decades in the making. Outside, the streets of Genoa city were alive with oblivious citizens, the normal rhythm of life continuing as if the city itself didn't teeter on the edge of ruin. But inside, the atmosphere was electric. Claire's gift was more than evidence, it was a blueprint for Victor's downfall, a roadmap to a destruction so complete that the Newman legacy, untouchable for decades, could finally crumble. Matt's mind raced with the possibilities. He imagined Victor's face when he discovered the betrayal, the city's whispers as the scandal spread like wildfire, and the satisfaction of watching the tyrant finally brought low. Yet beneath the thrill, a shadow of doubt flickered. This was a dangerous game, one with stakes higher than Matt had ever faced. One wrong move, one misstep, and the weapon could backfire spectacularly, destroying not just Victor, but Claire, Matt, and anyone foolish enough to be caught in the crossfire. But the lure of power, of finally seizing control in a city ruled by deception, was irresistible. As Matt held the envelope, Claire stepped back, her posture straightening with a mixture of triumph and careful calculation. She had spent months gathering information, exploiting Victor's enemies, and manipulating the loyalties of those around her. Every alliance, every whispered promise, every smile that concealed hidden motives, all had been pieces in a grander plan. And now, in Matt, she had a vessel for the final act. "Do you understand what this is?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper but laden with menace. "This isn't just a game, Matt. This is the end of Victor Newman. One way or another, he will fall." Matt nodded, feeling the weight of history pressing down upon him. He understood. This was more than revenge, it was a legacy-altering move, one that would rewrite Genoa City's power dynamics forever. Claire watched him for a moment longer, her expression unreadable, before finally speaking again. "Remember, timing is everything. One wrong move, and everything we've worked for is gone. Choose carefully, and strike when the moment is right. And Matt, never forget who handed you the key." Her words were a chilling reminder that this was no ordinary act of betrayal, it was a carefully orchestrated assassination, legal or otherwise, of Victor's dominance. The enormity of what he held began to sink in further. This envelope contained not just evidence but a set of choices that could determine the fates of dozens of people, reshaping alliances, destroying marriages, and perhaps even putting lives at risk. The knowledge of such power was both intoxicating and terrifying. Matt's mind flashed to Victor, sitting in his office at Newman Enterprises, unsuspecting, arrogant, believing himself untouchable. He thought of the countless times Victor had manipulated, humiliated, and threatened him and others around him. Every slight, every betrayal, every calculated move Victor had made now fueled Matt's resolve. He would not fail. This time, the scales of justice, or vengeance, would tip in his favor. As he turned the envelope over in his hands, Matt realized that Claire had not merely given him evidence, she had handed him a weapon, a strategy, and a responsibility. Every detail within the pages was a thread that, if pulled, could unravel Victor's empire. The two of them lingered in the quiet hum of the back room, the weight of their conspiracy hanging heavily between them. Claire's eyes, sharp and unwavering, held a mixture of satisfaction and warning. "Once this is in motion," she said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade, "there's no turning back. Victor will fight, he will lie, he will threaten, but the end is inevitable. Just make sure you follow through." Matt nodded solemnly, his pulse quickening with anticipation and dread. He knew that every action from this point forward had to be precise. The city, the Newman legacy, and even his own survival depended on it. As he left the safety of society, the envelope securely tucked under his arm, the city outside seemed different, charged with unseen currents of change. Every passerby, every honking car, every gossiping bystander was now unknowingly part of a narrative that could explode at any moment. The tension, almost palpable, stretched from the glimmering towers of Newman Enterprises to the quiet corners of every home in Genoa City. And while Matt's mind raced with possibilities, he knew that Claire had set something in motion that could not be stopped. It was more than revenge, it was a reckoning, a storm waiting to be unleashed, and he was the instrument of its fury. In the days to come, the city would not be the same. Allegiances would shatter, trust would crumble, and secrets long buried would surface in the most explosive ways imaginable. Victor Newman, once untouchable and feared, would finally face the consequences of decades of manipulation, cruelty, and unchecked ambition. And while the envelope in Matt's hand seemed small, almost insignificant to the untrained eye, it was a ticking bomb, a detonator for the chaos that would engulf every corner of the Newman empire. Claire had played her hand perfectly, weaving a web so intricate that even the most cunning minds might not see it coming. And now, as Matt walked through the streets, the weight of that deadly gift pressing against his chest, he understood the final, terrifying truth: in Genoa City, power was the ultimate weapon, and he held the key to wielding it against the most dangerous man the city had ever known. With every step, every glance over his shoulder, and every pulse of adrenaline that shot through him, Matt felt the city's eyes, unseen and unknowingly, following him. He knew he had to act swiftly, decisively, and with the precision of a surgeon. One misstep could mean disaster, not just for Victor but for Claire, for him, and for anyone who dared to cross their path. The envelope, containing the culmination of Claire's deadly ingenuity, was both a gift and a curse, a promise of devastation and a harbinger of change that would alter the course of lives forever. And as the shadows of Genoa city stretched long under the fading sunlight, Matt knew that the game had truly begun, and there would be no turning back. The envelope felt heavier with each step Matt took, a weight that pressed not only against his chest but deep into his conscience. Every pedestrian passing by seemed like a shadow of Victor's ever-watchful eyes, every honking car a drumbeat counting down to the inevitable chaos. Inside, Matt could feel the dossier shifting slightly, as if it were aware of its own destructive potential. Each page contained the dark, hidden truths of Victor Newman's empire, proof of manipulation, bribery, illegal acquisitions, and threats made behind closed doors, but what mattered most was that it was now actionable. Claire's cold, calculating brilliance had transformed years of careful scheming into a weapon of mass upheaval, and Matt knew he had been entrusted with it not because he was loyal, but because he was ambitious enough to carry it through. He arrived at a quiet parking garage beneath the strip of shops on Main Street, the kind of nondescript, dimly lit place where deals could be made without the risk of prying eyes. The hum of the city above him faded to a dull background, replaced by the echo of his footsteps and the steady pulse of adrenaline in his veins. Matt pulled the envelope closer, his mind racing with contingencies. He knew Victor's security network like the back of his hand, cameras, bodyguards, digital surveillance, but this time, he wouldn't be the prey. For once, he held the cards, and the city's most untouchable man was about to feel the sting of betrayal firsthand. Matt's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down, a single message from Claire. "Timing is everything. Make sure the world watches." The simplicity of the words carried a chill. She wanted this not just to destroy Victor, but to humiliate him, to expose him in a way that no one could ignore. Matt's lips curled into a determined smirk. He was no stranger to power plays, but this was something different. He had to orchestrate it perfectly. Back at the Newman mansion, Victor's day had begun like any other. Surrounded by opulence and authority, he reviewed contracts, adjusted shareholder positions, and sent terse, commanding emails, completely unaware that his empire's foundations were being meticulously dismantled outside his office walls. Victor prided himself on control. He had manipulated friends, family, and rivals alike, leaving a trail of fear and loyalty intertwined. But fear could only take you so far, and loyalty only lasted until the right moment of temptation. Claire had tapped into that temptation with lethal precision. Matt knew Victor would react fast if he sensed betrayal, so he planned every step like a chess master. He needed not only to deliver the evidence but to ensure it detonated publicly, leaving no chance for Victor to claw his way back. He began calling in favors, some old, some dangerous. He reached out to a journalist known for exposing corporate corruption, a reporter hungry for a story that could make headlines and shake the city's power structure. Each call was precise, each word measured. "I have proof of Victor Newman's most guarded secrets. This isn't just a story, it's an avalanche. I need this published, and I need it now." As he spoke, Matt felt the thrill of absolute control, the intoxicating rush of orchestrating an operation with consequences so severe that no one could undo them. Yet, beneath the exhilaration, a flicker of unease surfaced. Claire's plan was flawless in theory, but in practice, Victor was no ordinary adversary. He was cunning, ruthless, and relentless. One mistake, one misstep in timing, and the entire scheme could collapse, possibly costing lives. Matt's hand brushed the envelope instinctively, a silent vow that he wouldn't fail, not now, not ever. Meanwhile, back at society, Claire watched the unfolding chaos with a mixture of satisfaction and anticipation. She had orchestrated this moment for months, carefully monitoring Victor's routines, testing loyalties, and subtly influencing those around him. Every move was calculated, every alliance tested. And now, Matt carried the final piece, the key to executing a plan that could bring Victor to his knees. Claire's mind raced with possibilities, Victor humiliated publicly, his empire crumbling, his closest allies forced to choose sides. She knew some would fight for him out of loyalty, others for fear, but the dominoes would fall regardless. And when they did, Genoa City would burn. Matt arrived at Victor's private office entrance, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. He glanced around, no security in sight, and slipped inside with the envelope pressed firmly under his jacket. Victor was there, seated behind the massive oak desk, reviewing a contract with the usual air of authority. "Matt," Victor said, not looking up, his voice carrying the familiar mix of irritation and command. "What are you doing here?" Matt set the envelope down deliberately. "I brought something for you," he said, his tone carefully neutral, almost conversational. Victor raised an eyebrow but didn't immediately react. There was a tense silence as Matt moved to a side chair, deliberately casual, as if nothing was about to happen. He watched Victor's hand hover over the envelope before he finally picked it up. The moment his eyes scanned the first page, the color drained from his face. His hand trembled slightly, a rare crack in the armor he had worn for decades. "Where did you get this?" Victor demanded, his voice tight, controlled but edged with anger. Matt leaned back, a subtle smirk forming. "Let's just say some people know more than you think. And some people have had enough of your games." Victor slammed the folder down, his eyes narrowing. "You think you can play me, Matt? After everything I've done, everything I built?" Matt's response was calm, unnervingly so. "No, Victor. I don't think. I know. And now, everyone else will, too." He gestured toward the envelope. "This goes public tonight." Victor's lips pressed into a thin line. The tension in the room was palpable, charged with the energy of a storm about to break. "You have no idea what you're unleashing," he said, his voice low, a growl that hinted at the depths of his fury. "You think this will destroy me? It will destroy you, too." But Matt didn't flinch. He had planned for Victor's wrath, anticipated every argument, every threat. He had prepared contingencies, back channels, and backup plans. He had Claire's intelligence guiding every move, and he knew that Victor, as powerful and fearsome as he was, couldn't stop what was coming. By nightfall, the city was abuzz with whispers, rumors, and the first glimpses of a scandal so explosive it threatened to topple Genoa City's social and corporate hierarchy. The journalist Matt had tipped off was ready, the evidence verified and framed for public consumption. Social media was about to erupt, news outlets primed for breaking stories, and Victor Newman, unaware of the magnitude of the storm, was still in his office, preparing for a routine meeting that would now become his undoing. Claire, observing from a safe distance, allowed herself a rare moment of satisfaction. Every risk she had taken, every manipulation she had engineered, was now paying off. Genoa City was about to witness a spectacle that would be remembered for decades. Victor Newman, the untouchable titan, exposed and vulnerable, all because she had wielded her intelligence, patience, and cunning like a scalpel, and because Matt had delivered her deadly gift. Matt, meanwhile, sat in his car, watching the lights of the city reflect off the windshield, the envelope beside him like a loaded weapon waiting for the trigger. His phone buzzed again, another message from Claire. "It begins. Don't hesitate. Make it count." His pulse raced. Tonight, Victor Newman's empire would face its most formidable challenge yet, and Matt knew the city would never be the same. The first public reaction came swiftly. Headlines flashed across screens, phones buzzed with alerts, and social media exploded with the revelation of Victor's deepest, darkest secrets. Allies and rivals alike recoiled in shock, some scrambling to distance themselves, others plotting to seize opportunities in the chaos. The city's power dynamics shifted within hours, reputations shattered, and Victor's name, once synonymous with invincibility, was now associated with deceit, corruption, and vulnerability. Victor, enraged and humiliated, immediately called an emergency meeting with his most trusted allies, demanding answers, demanding loyalty, and above all, demanding control. But control was no longer his to command. The evidence Matt had released, curated and delivered with precision, had already set events in motion that even Victor's formidable cunning could not immediately halt. By the end of the night, Genoa City was ablaze with whispers of betrayal, scandal, and revenge. Claire watched from afar, a ghostly smile on her lips, knowing that her plan had succeeded beyond expectation. Matt, meanwhile, sat quietly in the shadows, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. They had struck a decisive blow, but the city's reaction, Victor's counterattack, and the inevitable fallout would test their resolve in ways neither of them could yet fully predict. One thing was certain, the envelope, Claire's deadly gift, had changed everything. Genoa City would never be the same. Victor Newman had been challenged, exposed, and humiliated in a way that would resonate for years to come. And as Matt and Claire contemplated the storm they had unleashed, one undeniable truth emerged from the chaos: power, when wielded with cunning and precision, could topple even the most untouchable giants. The following morning, Genoa City awoke to chaos. Headlines screamed Victor Newman's secrets across every screen, the once impervious tycoon reduced to a figure of scandal and suspicion. Stock prices at Newman Enterprises plummeted, and loyal executives whispered frantic discussions behind closed doors, their voices tight with fear and uncertainty. Matt sat in a darkened corner of a cafe, the envelope still in his bag, the adrenaline from the night's events slowly giving way to the weight of responsibility. Every action he had taken, every word of evidence he had released, now carried real-world consequences, and the realization that lives would be irrevocably altered settled heavily on his shoulders. Meanwhile, Victor's office was a storm of fury. Papers flew, phones rang incessantly, and the people he trusted most